Beauty thrives on adjectives. You can walk down any beauty aisle and you'll be bombarded with products that promise to nourish, revitalise, smooth, detoxify, perfect, illuminate, transform. And these words aren't neutral. They are carefully chosen to stir an emotional reaction. And more often than not, that reaction is insecurity. Now, the industry has long known that the easiest way to sell a beauty product is to convince you that you're not good enough as you are. And yet, here in Europe, we already have rules designed to keep cosmetic claims in check. So back in 2013, the European Commission introduced 6 criteria to regulate what brands can and can't say. And these criteria are clear, robust, and they're sensible. So let's walk through them briefly. Claims must comply with the law. They must be truthful. They must be supported by evidence. They must be honest. They must be fair. And they must allow customers to make informed decisions. And these 6 criteria are supposed to protect us from misleading, exaggerated, or outright false marketing. But for all their strengths, they miss something fundamental, because none of them stop the beauty industry from making us feel bad about ourselves. So today on the podcast, I want to put forward my call to legislate the beauty industry and its cosmetic claims for human dignity. Now, this is a little bit of a soapbox moment for me. And if you're a regular listener of this podcast, then you'll know that this is not the first time I've got on my soapbox. But I genuinely hope that decision makers and legislators will hear this episode and think about their responsibility towards all of us. Because if we can legislate the beauty industry so that they can't make us feel bad about ourselves anymore, then who knows? It could even lead to a full collapse of modern cosmetics. Who knows what might be possible? So let's talk about that today. Hi, it's Lorraine Dallmeier, chartered environmentalist, biologist, and CEO of the award-winning online organic cosmetic formulation school, Formula Botanica. I host the Green Beauty Conversations podcast, which has had well over 1 million global downloads, and these are my green beauty opinions, where I share my takeaways from last week's episode and challenge you to think differently about the beauty industry. If you love hearing my thoughts on green beauty, make sure you subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode. So how did I get up here on my soapbox calling for more regulation of the beauty industry? Well, let's rewind. Last week on the podcast, I interviewed Dr. Teresa Callahan, author of Help I'm Covered in Adjectives, and it's a great book. I do recommend you go and buy it. And she's spent nearly 4 decades in cosmetic science, and she knows better than most how far brands will go in dressing up products with marketing language that overpromises. But as Teresa and I discussed, and do make sure you go and listen to that episode if you haven't heard it yet, the problem isn't just that claims are fluffy or unsubstantiated, it's that they are rooted in a culture of inadequacy. So whether it's anti-aging or flawless or resurfacing, the language chosen by the beauty industry is designed to suggest that there is something wrong with you and that product can fix it. And that's why, along with those 6 criteria that I discussed earlier, which are already part of European cosmetics claims legislation, and Teresa talks about the fact that many other countries around the world follow that set of criteria as well, I believe that we need a 7th one. And I think it should say that cosmetics must not cause harm to human dignity. Because while regulations focus on technical compliance, is the claim substantiated? Is it fair? Is it honest? They completely ignore the emotional and psychological toll of these messages. And the toll is enormous because brands have built entire empires on telling people that they smell bad or look old. Or those same brands have invented conditions like cellulite that need so-called treating. And these messages, they seep into our subconscious. They seep into our conversations, even into our family dynamics. My teenage son told me last week that he thought it would be good for him to have a skincare product that stimulated collagen production. Honestly, my mouth fell open. I have never even used the word collagen around him. He picked that up all by himself online or at school, I guess. So these beauty brands don't just shift products. They shape self-worth. And beauty campaigns have long relied on shaming people into purchase. The wrinkle you need to erase, or the skin tone you need to correct, or the pores you need to shrink. And the adjectives may be different. The budgets may be bigger, but the underlying tactic is the same. So imagine for a moment in my utopian beauty industry here, if cosmetic claims had to pass not only the 6 existing tests, but also a 7th? Does this message respect human dignity? Would you still see anti-aging creams marketed to women in their 20s or younger if this was a test that cosmetics had to pass? Would we still be told that skin is impure unless it's smooth? Would brands still invent pseudoscientific problems only to sell as pseudoscientific solutions? I'd like to think not. Now, the beauty industry often hides behind this idea that we're only giving consumers what they want. But, shoppers don't wake up one morning desperate for a pore-blurring serum or an eye cream to fix so-called tired eyes. Those desires are planted and nurtured very carefully and then manipulated through decades of messaging that tells us we are somehow deficient. I was born in the late 70s, and I can tell you that when I was at school, literally no one was talking about hyaluronic acid or retinol or alpha hydroxy acids or, in fact, any skincare at all. So consumers may play a role in fueling claims, but the responsibility ultimately truly lies squarely with the beauty industry. Now, adding a new regulatory criteria won't be simple. How do you define what dignity means? Who decides whether a claim is harmful or empowering? These are really difficult questions, but I don't think they're impossible because advertising standards already police offensive content in other industries. We already know how to measure whether an ad demeans or objectifies. Why should beauty be any different? And let's not forget the opportunity here, because brands that strip back the adjectives and focus on genuine results often find that they build stronger trust. As Teresa shared on the podcast episode that I recorded with her last week, when she's worked with companies to simplify their claims, removing the hyperbole and focusing on what the product truly does, the results have been positive, not negative. Consumers respond well to honesty. So if we took away the beauty industry's ability to prey on insecurity, I honestly think the house of cards could tumble. Now imagine those same shelves that you see in the stores suddenly stripped of anti-aging creams and perfecting serums. What would remain? And how long would it take for that narrative to fade away in society? Would we see a sort of slow-mo collapse of beauty? Or would it maybe be more of a reset? After all, this kind of change could strip away decades of manipulation, not centuries actually, and force beauty to rebuild on honesty rather than shame. So the beauty industry is full of smart, creative, and passionate people. And I know that many of them listen to this podcast as well. So as long as we allow insecurity to be the engine of growth, we all keep fueling harm. And it's time to say enough. And that's why I'm up here on my soapbox in this podcast episode. So let's keep the 6 criteria for assessing cosmetic claims because they matter. But let's add a 7th that forces us to look in the mirror and ask, are we respecting the people we serve? So here's my challenge to you for this week. Go into your bathroom and look at the claims on the products that you have there. And then ask yourself, do those claims uplift you or do they diminish you? Do they make you feel seen or do they make you feel flawed? And if the answer is the latter, now I want you to imagine a world where every product you picked up had to meet not just the technical bar, but also the dignity bar. And that is a beauty industry I want to see. So let's all push to make it happen. Thanks for listening to my Green Beauty opinions. Remember to visit the Formula Botanica website at formulabotanica.com to try our free online formulation course. And if you haven't subscribed yet to the Green Beauty Conversations podcast, please do so now in your favorite podcast app. Leave me a 5-star review if you enjoy these discussions. And I will be back soon with my next episode.